Thank you, Dr. Muhammad Farid Shahran. So his answer is relatively a bit different. No and yes, but more valuable, more important is his explanation and justification. Moving to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Datin Paduka Asmah Ibrahim. She's the head of Women's Wing in Ibrahim. She was a civil servant and experienced in various types of social works, particularly in the field of environment and humanitarian. She's also one of the trustees of the Hidayah Center Foundation, which caters new Muslim reverts development. I would like to pass the floor to Datin Paduka.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good afternoon to the audience, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Chairman of the session, our distinguished speakers and panelists. First and foremost, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the organizer for giving me the opportunity to share a bit on the topic discussed. I have to say that it's a very challenging topic. I too does not have the answer yes or no as straightforward like that. But I would like to start the presentation by trying to answer three questions that was given to me by the organizer. First is Islam a religion of liberalization or of compulsion? Second, are there any rights to freedom of religion for Muslims? And third, and furthermore, could freedom of conscience actually open to the floodgate of apostasy? We all know that mankind actually need to discover their own identity and to understand the meaning of life and their existence in this world. That is where we talk about religion. They need to know who they are, where they are coming from, where they are going, and why are they here, and how should they live now, and since that they are already here. They want to know about life and living and about death and dying. They need to find direction about their world and understand relationship in their existence. These are the realities and none escape that. And this is a struggle. This is a struggle to search for the truth in life. Some has found dissatisfaction and live happily, while some encounter failures and thus end up with disillusionment and frustration. Indeed, man's intellectual and spiritual adventures are colorful and will continue to be. So that is the reality that we are in here today. And in the end, how can one be certain that one has found the truth? What is the instrument that measures that truth? So religion is actually a method that relates to life and death, origins and destinies and directions, origin and destinies, direction and destinies, and yet religion are not unanimous in answering all those questions. That's why we have various religions. But however, in Islam, we believe that the coming of the Prophet and the revelation of the final testament, that is the Holy Quran, leads people, provide guidance and help people to keep on track the truth. Having said that, I would like to refer to verse 256, chapter 2 of the Quran, which has been mentioned several times by both earlier speakers. Let there be no compulsion in religion. The right path has surely been made distinct from the wrong. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here has given freedom to mankind to decide on the choice of religion that they want to believe, as the difference between the right and the wrong path is very distinct. So in doing so, there is no compulsion to embrace Islam, and a person become Muslim upon his or her own choice after getting a proper explanation and understanding about Islam, and it is not by force or pressure upon them. So by doing this, actually Islam acknowledges human as dignified being and respect man's will, thoughts as well as feelings in deciding to choose their religion, and they are actually made fully responsible for the choice that they made. Okay. So with that, are we saying whether there is a Muslim has the right for freedom or not in religion? Now, we must remember that from there, once embrace Islam, there is an obligation for a Muslim to live in accordance to Islamic teaching. And Islam provides freedoms of choice and expression based on recognition to human, but there is no such thing as absolute freedom. So once you have embraced Islam, it is an obligation for you to learn about Islam and to live according to what is required by Islam. So that is where knowledge is very important, because you are obliged to learn and to know so that you can strengthen your belief, and then you can be a good Muslim in practicing Islam. So in Islam, actually, a human being and everything else were indeed created by God. We believe that. Human beings were created to be all above other creatures and creations, which comes along with the responsibility as a vicegerent or trustee of Allah on earth. So they were endowed with necessary capabilities needed to carry their roles and responsibility to manage and administer the world and the life on earth. So once you embrace, then you have to understand this, okay? Likely, guidance and instruction from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the revelation sent to the Prophet were appropriate to cater for the needs and well-being of every being on earth. As such, the divine guidance is needed for everyone, regardless of race, locality, or period, Muslim or non-Muslim alike. So, because Islam is a religion from God, so God has created us and everything else. So of course, God knows how best to guide us. So therefore, we have to know that although we have been appointed as trustee of Allah to administer the world, it doesn't mean that we act as a Lord to the world. Human beings are authorized only with responsibilities to look after the world and manage its affairs as directed and guided by the Almighty through His Prophet and accordance to His revelations. Along with this responsibility, human being is empowered with ability and means to carry out their roles and perform their duties successfully. This responsibility and trusteeship entrusted to human being comes with accountability, so that they are answerable for all the deeds and actions in their lives on earth. As such, all forms of human authority and human power are in truth God-given and can exist only insofar as what Allah has bestowed it upon them. So having said that, human authorities and mandate and trusted authorities are subject to Allah's authority. No human absolute freedom and independent from Allah's authorities or over and beyond it. So basically what I'm trying to say here is that as a Muslim, there are freedom, yes, we have been given freedom to choose, freedom to share our thoughts, discussion, etc. But we are guided by what Allah has sent to us through the prophets and through the Holy Quran. So then having with that understanding, what I'm trying to say is that leads to the answer to the third questions. So if you are a Muslim and you embrace Islam with full knowledge, and you continue to learn about Islam, so basically your conscience, I don't know, it can be pronounced in so many ways, yeah, rightfully should be guided with that right spirit. So in a way, we cannot say that freedom of conscience opened the floodgate to apostasy directly as such, because by embracing Islam, you should practice to live as a Muslim, and you should continue to learn and have knowledge about what is required by Islam. So this is where actually we in today's world we have to look at we should not be confused between what Islam teaches and what Muslim practices, because there are Muslims who doesn't really search for the knowledge, and therefore are not living in accordance to what is needed in Islam. So we cannot generalize by taking their practices as that is what Islam is teaching. So here, this is where in reality and theory is sometimes it doesn't jive. So this is also a reason why we exist. I mean here, we are, Ikram is an NGO, a Dakwah NGO, where we exist, and we are here to work to propagate Dakwah, to propagate the right way of understanding of Islam, and to show the right examples of how Muslims should be living and doing things. So our mandate is actually to call people to Islam and to give them the right understanding about Islam, so that when they embrace Islam, it is with conscious and with full conscious, and they know what is expected. So it's on their willingness and not by force. So basically that is the task of all the da'wah work that we are doing. Sorry, just read that. Okay.
We took the freedom to say.
Okay. I thought I put it on silent just now. Okay. So again, also when we look at the examples of the nature that is happening around us, which is supposed to be an example how Muslims should be living, we know that because I work in the area of environment. So in most of the time, when you take care of the environment, rule number one is we should not go against the mother nature. So the same principle, when you say freedom, yes, you are free to make choice and to share your views and so on, but there are limitations that you have to work within you. So I guess that is, I'm going to stop there. Basically I'm not answering the question directly yes or no, but it has to be with the right basis and the right knowledge, and to understand that. And maybe before that, just a quick comment. I do agree with the previous speaker that rehabilitation, apostasy is negative things that we should not also take it lightly. But then the way we approach those people, actually through the rehabilitation, we're giving them the right knowledge and the right understanding, and then put back the choice to them. But without having the rehabilitation, I mean, it's not quite fair to make judgment on them, because we need to know why is it that they want to go to apostasy. Is it because lack of knowledge? Or is it that there were certain things, that personal incident that happened to us that happened to them that trigger them to move in that direction? So we have to give them all the opportunities to make a comeback with proper rehabilitation. So it's we as a Da'wah group, normally, we don't judge people, but we propagate and call them to the right path, inshallah. With that, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Datin Paduka Cik Asmah from Ikram. She didn't answer directly yes or no, but she highlighted other important points, particularly the role of da'wah on matters related to religion. To introduce the fourth speaker for our discussion today is rather actually quite interesting, because initially we planned, or we're supposed to have Dr. Dzulkefly Ahmad from the strategic director of Parti Amanah Negara, but he could not make it, and basically he left his seat vacant. And apparently we have also a guest for our discussion today is Dr. Datuk Saifuddin Abdullah of a different party, which I think is more like quite a friendly party with Dr. Zul's party, which is Parti Keadilan Rakyat. I hope this doesn't signify very, very friendly. This doesn't signify any kind of political seats negotiation. Okay, just to keep the discussion going, I would like to invite, and we are honored to have Datuk Saifuddin Abdullah in our panel today.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
I hereby announce that Dr. Farouk owe me a very good dinner. That's Farouk that Brother Mustafa and many of us know. He has a way of getting people into trouble. I came with my family simply to listen to Brother Mustafa. I have read, if not all, most of your book. And I was really worried if the Islamic Jesus would be banned by the Malaysian government. They don't really understand freedom. And I'm saying this not because I'm already in the opposition. I say this even when I was in government. Ridwan can watch that I didn't change my standpoints. I simply changed my party. I always have some difficulties in trying to understand freedom when you add adjective to freedom, or you add some qualifying statements to freedom, like there's no such thing as absolute freedom, like freedom is good if it is good, like freedom must be for positive. I have a problem with that, but I don't mean to answer that problem this afternoon. I also have a problem when we enter into a discourse about having to learn Islam. Not that I don't agree about learning Islam. I agree about learning Islam, but but sometimes we tend to say that only certain people has to learn Islam. The state don't have to learn Islam. The institution of Islam, Islamic institution don't have to learn Islam. People who are involved in formulation of law don't have to learn Islam. So if there is a problem, it's because you, the individual, who don't understand Islam. The others, they're okay. Now I have a problem with that. Yeah. Where do I come from for this afternoon discussion? I look at Islam in as far as knowledge is concerned, and pardon me if I am a little simplistic here. There is the principles and the fundamentals of Islam, and there is the applied Islam. I think the problem with the Islamic society or the Muslim society is we are very strong, or we are very happy, and we spend a lot of time discussing the principles and the fundamentals and the fiqh, which is good, and we should continue doing it. But we do very little on the application of Islam, especially in all spectrums of life outside the ibadah that we normally understand. So for people like me who don't come from an Islamic school and who don't read Arabic, when I learned Arabic when I was in University of Malaya, I didn't write Arabic, Mr. Mustafa, Brother Mustafa. I draw Arabic because my Jawi is so bad. Yeah. But I passed anyway. Yeah. I don't know how I passed. When it comes to application, I'm a politician. When I try to apply Islam, I don't see Islamic books. But my conscience tells me that what I'm trying to do, like the book that I've written about multiracial and moderate Malaysian democracy, I am so very that damn sure that it is Islamic. But don't ask me about the hadith and the Quran that says Islamic. Go and do it. You have done it for thousands of years and still you haven't come up with what is supposed to be done for Malaysia in as far as Islamic politics is concerned. That is why I welcome the discussion, for instance, moderate Muslim, what do you call it? Democrat Muslim as the second way, or rather the second wave after political Islam, yeah, and things like that. So, on the application part, on the societal, on nation state, on state building, we are not really involved in, and that is, and now I'm coming into the topic, and that's why we keep on talking about this kind of thing in Malaysia, because we are busy about this. These are the topic that we like. Yeah, how do you manage what is Islamic governance? How do you overcome? How do you improve? Just take a simple example. How do you improve the governance of the zakat institution? We all know that poverty is like next to kufr. You ask any poor Malaysian Muslim how difficult it is to get assistance from zakat, and how easy it is to get assistance from another religion. You know the story in Malaysia. Go to hospitals and see who is talking to the poor, ailing men and women. Not the Muslim, not people from zakat institution. Yeah, and invite the people from Islamic institution to this kind of discourse. More often than not, Farid will tell you they won't come. Yeah, okay. We have incidences in Malaysia that shows that when Brother Mustafa talks about confidence, that shows that some of us lack the confidence in our faith. I just give you two simple examples, or maybe three. The Allah issue, yeah. 77% of Muslims in Malaysia, according to one survey, says that this is exclusively for Muslims only. So 77% Muslims in Malaysia probably. I won't interpret. I won't interpret the number. You interpret the number. Remember the small church somewhere in Pejir or Jalan Kelang Lama, a new church was established, and then they put the cross, and there was a demonstration in front of the cross. Yeah. By the way, on both issues, I get into trouble because my comments were not so Islamic. Remember the Mufti who spoke about kafir zimmi? In 2017, we are still talking about kafir zimmi in Malaysia. When we know that kafir zimmi is an outdated kafir harbi. Well, kafir harbi, yeah, but he also mentioned that we are still living in this situation where Muslims have to face kafir zimmi and so on and so forth. How many people in Malaysia left Islam? We don't know. We really have to ask Dr. Hassan Ali, a former state minister from Selangor, from Islamic Party, but I don't know where he is now, because he seems to claim that there were many people who have left Islam, and I have yet to see the name. Yeah. So maybe Dr. Farouk, next time you should invite Hassan Ali and ask him. Why do we come to this kind of situation? I have tried to allude to it at the outset. Perhaps this is about our interpretation of Islam, or rather the interpretation of, or the way we look at the situation of Muslim in this country. It's like Muslims are under siege. The Muslim insecurity. But deeper than that is perhaps because in this country we don't really teach our kids about the other. Muslim, non-Muslims, I don't know. I now work with the Institute Darul Ehsan, and we are working on a project trying to know, do families really educate their kids about the other? Or are we, in a way, indirectly telling our kids that the other is to be feared, such that our kids, every time he or she wakes up in the morning, feels that the other is going to encroach into our so-called territory, including our faith, to the extent that we become so insecure and fear the other, and therefore we come out of that fear by becoming very rough towards the other, by becoming very intolerant of the other. Part of the reason is because our politics has always been about the politics of race. Politics of race is so embedded and ingrained to the extent that sometimes we don't realize it is happening. Some actually strive on it because they reap benefits from it, like they win election because of it. But politics of race become worse when it is complemented or added with religious undertone or religious flavor. And that is why I think our interpretation of Islam, what the Quran says, what the Sunnah says, I hear this afternoon about the authoritative interpretation. I have a problem with that, actually. I have a big problem with that, yeah, because we have seen so many hadith, fake hadith, have been repeatedly used by authoritative people, muftis in this country, many times, and we have problem with that. So I would validate the authoritativeness of some of the interpretation, if not all of the interpretation. And for Muslims in Malaysia, I think if there is one term that we must, I'm sure we are familiar with this, but we need to really take it home and share it with the others, is for us to be moderate, because Islam is about moderation. There are many verses of the Quran that would guide us in as far as moderation is concerned. We heard about La ikraha fid din. Again, the interpretation, more often than not, is about the moment you are in, you can go out. Yeah. And then there is this interpretation about even the term ummah. Some people tend to interpret ummah as it's only among Muslim, but if you look at Sahifah Madinah, the ummah there is also about Muslim and non-Muslim. If you look at the way the Prophet deals with the Christian of Najran, the Christian of a few other Christian groups in his lifetime, he was very accommodative, he was very inclusive. In fact, he was very helpful. He gave them he gave them protection. He gave them protection, and so on and so forth.
He allowed them worship in the Medina mosque.
Yeah, they were welcome. Oh, you do that here in Malaysia, you will be considered zimmi or harbi.
Zimmi.
Yeah, I mean these are the kind of sirah that some people tend not to share publicly, because how can you allow non-Muslim to pray in the holy mosque? And whereas the Prophet, as you rightly, thank you for reminding me on that point, Brother Mustafa. So we really need to look into the way we interpret. We have to feel secure. We have to have that confidence that yes, if we are Muslim, because we believe Islam is the best religion, that we want to embrace and we want to practice, and so we will continue doing so, and with the others we try to implement the very body of the Prophet, that he is rahmatan lil alamin. He brings rahmat, and again here some people thought that it's only rahmat for the Muslim. It's rahmat for Muslim and non-Muslim. Yeah, and for Malaysians, I think I mean not only for Malaysians, but especially for Malaysians and people who live in multiracial society, I think this is the time, and here is an opportunity for us to interpret Islam and show to the world. I mean, we live Islam in our own life in the country, and show to the world that Islam is indeed a peaceful religion, moderate, progressive, whatever. I can be sinful of adding adjective myself to Islam here, but you know where I'm coming from. It is about practicing Islam in the real sense of the word, and not be confined to some shallow interpretation of Islam. Thank you.